Okay, so I think it's just on 10 past. I think we'll break for coffee now, and then if you can come back sort of 5 minutes early as well, then we'll move on to the activity. So if you've got you'll need your picture or your object after coffee.
Can we use both?
Picture and an object, yeah? It'll be up to your group. Okay, so just get out your object, focus on it. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to do this, and then you'll start to share your stories. And there's just some questions there to prompt you thinking about it. Why did you choose it? Why does this represent you or your teaching? What does it actually represent? So what's the story behind it? What's the narrative? I mean, you can have other questions. These are just to get you thinking. Does it connect with your discipline? Is that why you chose it? Is that bringing your discipline into your teaching? Does it represent your values? So think about your professional values. Is that coming in? So I'm going to set the timer. You've got 3 minutes just to think about your personal narrative, and then I want you to work in groups of 3. So you can move around a bit, and then just each tell your stories. Okay. So 3 minutes before you move into your groups. Okay, at the moment you wait for a nod. Right, so you should spend that time thinking about your object. What I want you to do now is break into groups of 3. It'd be really nice if you went to people that you haven't spoken to before, haven't worked with so far, so you can move around groups. But I'm not going to force you to do that. If you want to go outside and do it so you can sit around a table, that's fine, or just move around so you can work. But you need to work in a group of 3, and then spend 3 minutes each talking about your object, okay, and what it means to you. All right. So we work. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
4 is a.
No, do a 3 and a 2 because there'll be an odd one. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 14 of you, so you need 4 groups of 3 and a 2. Sort yourselves out. You're all smart people, but you need to be back here in 10 minutes. Okay, folks, you've got 10 minutes to do it. So if you're in a group of 4, then you need less time. Okay. Set a stopwatch to make sure you share the time evenly in your group. Don't let somebody speak for the whole 10 minutes. Okay? Right, folks, that's your time up. Is everybody finished, or does anybody need more time? Are we all finished, or does anybody need more time? All done? Okay, what I want you to do, hopefully I was sort of listening in some of the conversations, and they were really lovely, really exciting. So make sure that you make a note of those, because that can obviously inform your writing. But what I want you to do, just to bring one thing out of that, is to try and identify, again, just as an individual exercise on your own, is there was your personal philosophy illustrated by that narrative? Okay, so I sort of found a bit of one of mine. my philosophy changes. It's not very well written. I just kind of grabbed that out of a document that I happen to have on the USB stick there. So it's important, as I said yesterday, when you're writing your narrative, if you've got a belief or a philosophy about how higher education should work, how it should be delivered, how students learn, you can keep pinning all of your action and all of your theory back into that, rather than having this kind of 20-year narrative of everything I've ever done. You can just select the things that kind of build onto that philosophy. So just really take a couple of minutes to think about what is your personal philosophy. So I think in Module 1 we explored what higher education is actually for, trying to achieve. So just make a note, a couple of sentences about what you think your personal philosophy is. Mine's not a very good example. Right, so now we're going to do a little bit more writing. Getting you to do lots of work today. What I want you to do is, we've talked about reflection, we've talked about the reflective process. I want you to just think about an issue that's currently affecting you in your teaching, okay? And start writing about how you feel about it. Are you frustrated? Are you excited because you think you've got a solution? And just write continuously. Don't worry about structure, spelling, or anything. Try to write clearly because you might want to have to read it. Just keep the pen moving across the page. So just that kind of free writing. And we'll give you 10 minutes to do that. If you feel like you don't have an issue and you would rather just write on a thing that you've already solved, then please do that, okay? I'm going to set the clock and we'll give you exactly 10 minutes, okay? If you want to go somewhere else quiet, if you want to move up to the back of the room so you've got a bit of peace to move around, please do that. But it's just an individual. I really don't want to hear any talking at all for 10 minutes. I know this is the biggest challenge for you. Just focus on yourself. I would strongly recommend that you move into a bit of space so that you can just completely focus on that piece of writing. Okay? Anybody got any questions about what you were being asked to do?
Would it be a personal problem, academic problem?
Something personal for your teaching.
This is like
yes, but this is just focusing on the issue. If you don't have an issue, or instead of the enhancement where you were kind of building it up, I just want you to focus on the free writing. But if you've already got something that you've solved, then or a piece of writing that you would add to your reflective account, you can write on that. Okay. So basically the top line doesn't have to be an issue, it can just be part of a piece of writing that you would imagine going straight into your reflective account. Okay? But, well, that's going to be an option. Yeah. Yeah, it's up to you. If you want to write something at the end of it, you then decide whether you want to share it or not. So I don't want that to inhibit you. I just want you to write for 10 minutes without thinking, without worrying about anything. Okay. So if you don't want to do an issue, you felt like you covered that yesterday, then just write something in terms of that you feel would be a piece of writing that's going to go into your wrap. Okay, into your reflective account of practice. All right. Any questions before I set the clock? Are we all comfortable? We've lost the sound on the bell, but that's your time up. How did you find that? Easy? Useful? And it's part of the reason for making doing the class is it's literally obviously 10 minutes of your time, it's something that you could fit into your day relatively easily, just to take that break. If you're not self-editing, if you're not self-critiquing, okay? What we do now is just look back through that, through what you've written. Just make sure I've just re-added these. I've put on the next slide the knowledge from the fellowship and the values, the K1s to K6 and the V1 to V5. I just want you to read through and see if anything kind of, strikes you that would align with those, so that you have an idea of your writing and if it's demonstrating values, if it's demonstrating knowledge. Okay? All right, so I'll just bring them up. So if you can just read through them, first of all. Unless you've all got them written on your hearts and you know what they all are. You look like you have a question. Do you want to ask me one?
No, I'm just thinking.
You're thinking.
Thank you.
Does anybody want to give us an example of something they've aligned? Yeah.
So in my writing I talked about how I always felt that I am supposed to be in control all the time and capable of anticipating and preventing any sort of potential mishap problem. And how I have always justified this as being indicative of how much I love my job. Which, as I reflect on it now, might be a wrong kind of reasoning, because it's still to be acquired to be capable of distributing control and power during the class. So it's kind of, it can also be a problem if you want to have your students gain autonomy, because you always think yourself as the person in control all the time.
Yeah.
So I think it's related to V2, promote participation
Yeah.
in higher education and equality of opportunity,
Yeah.
and also K2, how students learn,
Yeah.
both generally and within their subject.
Yeah. 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 And I'd also maybe think about V1 as well, respecting individual learners, because if you're in control all the time, they're not taking control of what they want to learn, so you're not giving them any respect. So I think I would maybe be tempted to add V1 in there as well. Thanks very much. That's really
V1,
really lovely.
right?
V1, yeah, yeah.
Now I see that my writing is referring to K2, K3, K4, V1, V3, V4. Now, first, I have to read my. Shall I read my writing?
If you want to read just a couple of sentences, then yeah.
Okay. My current problem about my teaching is not independent from the social, political, ideological, educational problems of the country, naturally. I have been pushed for 30 years to close myself in my office to publish A1 articles in index journals. In Turkey, we call the indexed publishings A1 articles,
Yeah.
right, the top. Yes. The more I published in index journals, the better I was recognized, respected, and promoted by the system. And therefore, I never cared about my teaching, reflecting my academic work in my syllabi, carrying my research into the class was always there with me in the learning and teaching environment. But I neglected the recent pedagogical approaches in teaching literature. HEA program woke me up, and last October I decided to refresh or reinvent myself as a teacher as well as an academic. Since then, I think I've been a different teacher. I think I was reborn as a teacher.
That's lovely. I think, I spoke yesterday about having the personal blogs. I think that would be a great start for a personal blog for the HEA website. That'd be fantastic.
Shall I?
Yes. But anyway, sorry, do go on.
So now, after writing this piece, I just had a look at the items, and I just discovered that, yes.
Yeah, that you are hitting those.
These items were lacking in my teaching experience. And I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
Now, thanks. Thanks to HEA and thanks to you, I'm aware of that now.
Good stuff. Anybody else want to give us an example of their either of their writing or just their example that they're, if you don't want to read out your writing, but some of the things you found? Have you all found some?
Yes.
Yes. And has it been helpful in looking at your practice and thinking this is where I'm going to put it into my document? Yeah? Yeah. Okay. I won't force any more of your reflections unless anybody has got something that they feel that they want to ask. They've written something and they don't know where it aligns to. If anybody has an example like that. Okay. I can look at some of them over lunchtime if you want to hand them up to me, and as long as they're legible. So just think about your writing and I'm not going to insist on any of this, but how would you like to get feedback on your writing? If that was something you've done, just theoretically, how would you like to get feedback on it? Would you like only to look at it through self-evaluation, particularly that type of writing that you've done there? Do you think it's useful to have peer review? And if it was going through peer review, who would you prefer to do it? Would you, if I come and said, right, okay, I'm going to randomly swap all of those around and get feedback, would that be something that you think, yeah, that sounds good? Would you like to just give it to a friend, someone that you trust, or would you just like to give it to a critical friend, someone that you've identified who maybe is not a close personal friend? Anybody got any thoughts on any of those? How would you feel about sharing your work?